Hey guys, Nerdy Naturalist here. Today's episode is going to be a little different because the weather hasn't been too good for me getting out and doing any hikes recently. So instead, today I thought I would go over something I've been wanting to for a while, go over some of my LARP equipment. So the first weapon we're going to go over is the Rawal, the Gurkha's Kukri made by Calimacil. This is my oldest LARP weapon. It's 5 years old at this point, and I've used it all those years for plenty of different LARP characters. And as you can see, it's still very pliant. No core is showing through, anything like that. This whole thing is a really good, reliable weapon. Now that we've talked about our short, let's talk about some of our longs. Now, almost all of my Calimacils that I have are around the 80 to 85 centimeter range. So we're going to start off with the most basic one. That would be this here. This is the Pirate, the long sword, one of their long swords. They still make this one as well. I like the design of this. It moves through the air pretty quickly. It's got this nice little hand guard, so if you're in a LARP that requires you to protect your knuckles, it can be very useful there. I have a lot of experience in stage combat, so it's nice to have a sword that I can kind of flourish about. Now, I do have one problem with this design, and that is right here. Now, it does help with kind of the more piratey look. It gives it a very cutlassy shape to it. But this does mean it's a bit harder to fit into a scabbard, so you'll need to get a belt frog for a weapon like this. And if you have a belt frog, you probably want to use it for some of your other weapons, like the Kiefer mace. Now, this is one of my personal favorites that I just rarely get to use. Got these cool flanges on it, and as you can see, those collapse right down when under pressure. This is a very soft weapon. The whole handle as well is also very soft, so it's got a good grip. You can grip it up here. You can do a full whale on it. It's a good weapon. This is another one I have used a lot in my days of owning it. I loan it out to a lot of people because it's very reliable. My final Calimacil in this size category is the Eric, the Viking axe. Now, this is actually an older design of the Eric. They have a new one now, which I've heard is much better, which is good because as much as I love this design, I rarely, if ever, use this one because after my third time using it in-game, the foam started tearing, and that was after about a year and a half of use. I only used it about 3 times at a LARP, and the foam already started tearing because part of it is just the design, this hook, this beard to the axe. It's not what you want to be using in a LARP, especially if you're using foam weapons. I've heard Calimacil has upped their game since, and they now put a sort of core on the inside of the blade, but I think this one has that too, so I'm just not 100% sure. I'm not going to invest in any future axes, but I still love the look of this one. There's the runes on the handle. The grip's it's a little tough, and in cold weather, this can actually really abrase on your hand while you're fighting with it, but it helps you keep a good, strong grip of your axe. I also like to two-hand it. I'll choke up on the grip, and this is a really fun piece to use. The final piece I'm going to talk about in this category is not Calimacil. It's actually from Epic Armory, but holy smokes, I love this sword. This is the hybrid from their hybrid series. It's the Dwarven single-edge sword. It's 85 centimeters long. It's got this great Dwarven designed handle, pommel, handguard, but the blade profile on this is a sort of like a Langsax or a Falchion, and oh man, I love this sword. This is my newest blade. I actually got it this year, right around Christmas time. And I cannot wait to get out into game and start swinging this bad boy around. I specifically bought this for Bickeline this coming August because my character is a bit more Viking-y. I want him to feel very well-traveled, so he's going to have a series of weapons, and this is going to be my primary blade for him. So, by the way, thanks Epic Armory. You really outdid yourselves with this one. I love the feel of this sword. Now our final category of weapon, you might notice that I'm standing up and I'm not sitting at the bench anymore for this, because these are my big old two-handers. Weapons that are particularly long and require you to use two hands to be used more effectively. If you do have a shield, you might be able to one-hand it, but I wouldn't recommend it with most of these. So let's start with my Epic Armory. This is the, I think this is their Elven Glaive. As you can see, it's a really beautiful piece. They've got this little like blue gem in the pommel, the gold colors to it. They've got this cool little weight on the end, or what looks like a weight on the end. And this one's a pretty nice blade. I like the shape of it. I like the feel of it. It weighs practically nothing. And it's a good length. You know, it's right there up on me, so it's almost as tall as I am. I'm about 6 feet tall, so it's a good to use as a quarterstaff, and it works for some of your more elegant characters, but it is definitely fantasy. If you look at it there, it definitely has a fantasy look to it. The other piece I have, the other polearm, would be the Calimacil. This is the Jingu, the Empress's Naginata. If you look, I actually also bought a Suba to go with it. This is their Japanese. It's this little old man beating up a lion with a stick. I really love that design. This actually has their katana blade on their quarterstaff. And this is another one that you can use like a staff. This one's got a lot more weight to it, so I actually prefer to use this one for most LARPs. However, in the winter time, a weapon like this getting cold can kind of harden up, and it can really hurt someone to get hit with this thing. So what I do is I use both of these weapons for the same character, but I use this one during the summertime, springtime, and then I use the Epic Armory one in the winter and fall when it gets colder out. My final big two-hander is one that I think really fits me well, being a birder. This is the Falleril Two Hands from Calimacil. This one is one of the, I think this is probably the most rigid Calimacil I own. But as you can see, it's this big, I think it's meant to be like an elven curve blade, but it feels like a big old katana. And I love that feel. It's a fast weapon, and it's just got a great length to it. This is about the same length as the Calimacil, the old Calimacil claymores. So you can outreach most anyone you're fighting at LARPs if you're using this. Keep them at a good distance. It's a great holdout weapon, or a great traveler's weapon if you don't want to be someone that carries a big clunky shield. You want to be someone who feels a little bit more elegant. You can pop this out, move it around really quickly, a lot of feinting and things like that. So that's just a preliminary to that arsenal. I'll try to upload over the next few weeks, maybe even tomorrow. I'll try and upload some demonstration videos of how I practice with them to fight. I'll also see if I can get some of my buddies out to spar a little bit. And I've also been looking at some derby workouts for specific weapons such as the katana and all of that to get some practice in there. So what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to check those out, and please send me any videos you might have of your kit, your gear. I love seeing people's weapons at LARPs. It's one of my favorite things about LARP. And show them off. Anyway, get outside and have fun, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.